From my earlier two theory videos about the Later That Night house in FNAF 6, I was able to deduce that Charlie dies after the bite victim, who for brevity's sake throughout this video, we'll call Chris. In his secret tape in Five Nights at Freddy's 6, Henry said that this wound was first inflicted on him, and that he let it bleed out to cause more suffering. It's almost certain, entirely certain, that he's talking about the children William Afton murdered. As I stated before, neither Chris or Elizabeth's bedrooms are shown in the Afton house and Later That Night to emphasize the most important areas of the house. And those areas are the room that shows Afton's wife watching TV and telling him to leave Michael alone because he had a rough day, and then there's Michael's room where the door is locked and the window is broken, with a set of animatronic footprints approaching but not quite reaching the window. With the help of these conclusions, we'll see what other ones we can draw from the rest of the series. So hear me out on this one, and if you enjoy, press the like button below to boost me in the algorithm, and if you want to see more Sonic the Hedgehog and Five Nights at Freddy's content, subscribe to my channel for at least a while. Anyway, let's begin. Now, as I concluded earlier, Afton killed Charlie both because he was devastated and angry, and because he was drunk. His reckless driving on the highway at 150 miles an hour and crashing into other cars. What I feel this doesn't answer is if Circus Baby's Pizza World, where Elizabeth dies, happens before or after Later That Night and Fritz's death. Given that the Funtime animatronics, and notably Circus Baby, are intentionally designed to kidnap children, and Afton warned Liz not to approach her, I doubt he didn't already have kidnapping and killing in mind. But if Charlie was the first major child character to die, it doesn't make sense for this to take place before Chris's death. I highly imagine that the wound would then have been inflicted first on Afton by himself, as he only makes a passive attempt to protect Liz from an animatronic that he created. And that would mean that Afton is spreading his wound, not Henry's. Therefore, in my opinion, I would rule out that possibility. But did Liz die after Chris, before Charlie, or did she die after both of them? I know that Remnant is considered a huge deal in the fandom, but it was only introduced in the second novel and the sixth game, so I don't think it's quite as important to the games as some people think. All that I'm going to focus on about it for now is that it prevented Michael from dying in Sister Location, and that its soul comes from the souls of the dead, and that it has the ability to heal or sustain, as shown in the novel. This was a long while before Special Delivery as well, and I doubt that the lore of Special Delivery was planned ahead from FNAF 6, let alone Sister Location. Given this, Afton may not have known about Remnant at the time Circus Baby's Pizza was open. Given that Circus Baby killed Elizabeth, her design was probably meant to do exactly that. I think Afton is killing for his own twisted pleasure, so this is happening after Charlie's death too. Sure, there's a line in FNAF 4 where someone says, "I will put you back together," but I don't think that's Afton saying that. Afton was watching Chris and speaking to him through the plushies, but if Chris is in a coma, he can't hear it. This line's font is in a slightly different color too, so I can imagine that it's meant to represent someone else speaking, who will put him back together. Now, a lot of people have said that because Fredbear was not in suit mode, and therefore had all spring locks relaxed, and Bite was therefore not a spring lock failure, all of which I do agree with. Afton had to design Fredbear's jaw in such a way that would be powerful enough to cause brain damage, meaning he already had an intention of killing at this point. However, even if Fredbear's jaw is ridiculously overpowered, I doubt Afton planned for anyone to put their head in it, so I don't think it was intended to kill anyone. Therefore, I strongly feel that Chris is the first child character to die in the timeline, not Charlie or Elizabeth. The newspapers in Five Nights at Freddy's 1 appear to be referring to the current restaurant the Night Guard is working in, but all the newspapers should reasonably be reporting on events that happen close to each other, and at the time of FNAF 1, the animatronics are already possessed. In addition, external media, such as both the novels and the Fazbear Fright series, imply the missing children incident to have taken place in 1985, which is between the time FNAF 4 and FNAF 2 happened. FNAF 1 is most commonly believed to either take place in 1992 or 1993, but regardless, it happens after FNAF 2, which is 1987. Placing his death in the timeline becomes a little bit easier. His physical location and unit says to Mike that the closure of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza opened up the path for a new animatronic brand to come onto the scene. He then subsequently talks about how the Funtime animatronics are rented out, which may seem to mean he's talking about the rental service and not Circus Baby's Pizza World. If the new Freddy Fazbear's opened since, he wouldn't know about it because he only programmed to give information about the rental facility and give backstory as to what happened before the facility was open. So, in my opinion, he would be likely referring to Circus Baby's brand in general, which would include Circus Baby's Pizza World, so we now know that Circus Baby's opened after Freddy's shut down, but which one? Assuming the MCI takes place in 1985, the newspapers in FNAF 1 with the archives of events from that year, with the MCI causing that Freddy's to close by the end of that year. We see 5 dead bodies in one of the FNAF 2 minigames, but we also see a spot of blood. Personally, I believe that spot of blood was either erroneously placed there, or it has no meaning, it's just a red herring. But after he kills 2 separate sets of victims, these are likely the children that went missing in 1985, which in the novels was 5 children, but in Fazbear Frights it was 6, and they weren't missing. Remember that Afton is charged with and convicted of kidnapping the children. The murder charge didn't stick because the bodies were missing because they were hidden in the animatronics. So the prosecution would have lacked evidence to convict Afton of murder and only had enough to convict him of kidnapping. So as far as I understand, bodies re-see and save them or freshly killed by Afton. That's why the minigame's narrator believes they can be saved, not knowing they're already dead, and as Afton says sometimes when this minigame is played through, you can't. The bodies just haven't been hidden yet. In addition, possessed animatronics are transferred from this location to the FNAF 1 location, and that's where Afton tears down the animatronics just before his demise in the Springtrap suit. So far, I've managed to create a partial timeline of some critical events. Chris dies first, caused by a prank on Michael, in which Michael feels guilty. Afton kills Charlie out of his depression and alcoholism, and Michael runs away for at least the second time, guided by a possessed Fredbear or Golden Freddy, to Chris's makeshift grave. Addicted to the feeling of bloodlust, Afton kills 5 more children at a Freddy's location in 1985, resulting in the closure of that location and his conviction of kidnapping. In the real world, kidnapping carries about 3 years of jail time and $5,000 in fines in the US. But there's no reason to think that real-world legal rules would apply in the Fazbear universe. He could get out early with parole, or he could just escape and adapt a fake identity. Shortly after escaping prison, would then open Circus Baby's Pizza World now that Freddy's is closed, giving him an opportunity to kill more people, inadvertently causing the death of his own daughter. In addition, since the location would likely happen right after Elizabeth's death, so both before FNAF 1 and 2, giving Michael the opportunity to work at Circus Baby's Entertainment and Rentals while it's open for a few months. Then he gets scooped, and then he goes on to work as Fritz Smith in FNAF 2 and Mike Schmidt in FNAF 1. Both times getting fired for tampering with the animatronics with the goal of setting the spirits free, and for his odor, which may have carried over from his time as a purple living corpse. Now, some people have suggested that because of the remnant, Michael wouldn't just continue living, he'd heal back to normal. But, even if that's true, the stink could still stick with him somehow. Anyway, after the FNAF 1 location closes, Afton returns there and get Springlock. So from first to last of these major events, Chris dies, Charlie dies, 5 children die, Elizabeth dies, Michael almost dies, 5 more children die, and then William dies for the time being. That's all for today. Comment down below if you agree or disagree with my reasoning, and if you've made it this far, let me know your favorite FNAF character and your favorite Sonic character. So stay safe, stay cool, and I see you later.